This is the Sabbath School lesson for the first quarter, 2022.
Lesson 2, the Message of Hebrews, ready for teaching on January 8. It's authored by Dr. Felix Cortez, Associate Professor of New Testament Literature in the Seventh-day Adventist Theological Seminary at Andrews University, and your reader for today is Dr. Percy Harrold. Wednesday, January 5. Jesus is our High Priest. Hebrews chapters 5 to 7 introduces a second function of Jesus. He is our high priest. The author explains that this fulfills a promise God had made to the promised Davidic king, that he would be a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. Let's have a look at Psalm 110 and verse 4, and then we'll look at Hebrews 5 and 6. Psalm 110, beginning at verse 4, "The Lord has sworn and will not relent. You are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek." And Hebrews 5, beginning at verse 5, "So also Christ did not glorify himself to become high priest, but it was he who said to him, 'You are my son, today I have begotten you,' as he also says in another place, 'You are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek.'" Read Leviticus chapter 1, verses 1 to 9, Leviticus 10, verses 8 to 11, Malachi 2:7, Numbers 2, 22 to 26, and Hebrews 5, 1 to 4. What functions did the priest fulfill? Leviticus 1, verses 1 to 9. "Now the Lord called to Moses and spoke to him from the tabernacle of meeting, saying, 'Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when any one of you brings an offering to the Lord, you shall bring your offering of the livestock, of the herd and of the flock. If his offering is a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own free will at the door of the tabernacle of meeting before the Lord. Then he shall put his hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it will be accepted on his behalf to make atonement for him. He shall kill the bull before the Lord, and the priests, Aaron's sons, shall bring the blood and sprinkle the blood all around on the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of meeting. And he shall skin the burnt offering and cut it into its pieces. The sons of Aaron, the priests, shall put fire on the altar and lay the wood in order on the fire. Then the priests, Aaron's sons, shall lay the parts, the head and the fat in order on the wood that is on the fire upon the altar. But he shall wash its entrails and its legs with water, and the priest shall burn all on the altar as a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to the Lord." And Leviticus 10, verses 8 to 11. "Then the Lord spoke to Aaron, saying, 'Do not drink wine or intoxicating drink, you nor your sons with you, when you go into the tabernacle of meeting, lest you die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that you may distinguish between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean, and that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which the Lord has spoken to them by the hand of Moses.'" And Malachi 2, verse 7, "For the lips of a priest shall keep knowledge, and people shall seek the law from his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts." And then Numbers 6, beginning at verse 22. "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, 'Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, This is the way you shall bless the children of Israel. Say to them, The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.'" And Hebrews chapter 5, beginning at verse 1, "For every high priest taken from among men is appointed for men in things pertaining to God, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. He shall have compassion on those who are ignorant and going astray, since he himself is also subject to weakness. Because of this, he is required, as for the people, so also for himself, to offer sacrifices for sins. And no man takes this honour to himself, but he who is called by God, just as Aaron was." The priests were appointed on behalf of human beings to represent them and mediate their relationship with God and the things pertaining to him. The priest was a mediator. This was true of any system of priesthood, whether Jewish, Greek, Roman, or any other. The priest makes it possible for us to relate to God, and everything the priest does has the purpose of facilitating the relationship between us and God. The priest offers sacrifices on behalf of human beings. The people cannot bring these sacrifices to God in person. The priest knows how we can offer an acceptable sacrifice so that our gifts may be acceptable to God, or so that they can provide cleansing and forgiveness. Priests also taught the law of God to the people. They were experts in God's commandments and were in charge of explaining and applying them. Finally, the priests also had the responsibility of blessing in the name of Yahweh. Through them, God mediated his good will and beneficent purpose for the people. However, in 1 Peter 2 verse 9, we see something else. We, believers in Jesus, are called a royal priesthood. As it says in 1 Peter 2:9, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvellous light. This role implies incredible privileges. Priests could approach God in the sanctuary. Today, we can approach God through prayer with confidence, as we read in Hebrews 4, verses 14 to 16, which reads, Seeing then that we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession, for we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. And Hebrews 10:19 to 23, Therefore, brethren, having boldness to enter the holiest by the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way which he consecrated for us through the veil, that is, his flesh, and having a high priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a true heart in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. There are as well important responsibilities. We must collaborate with God in his work of saving the world. He wants us to teach and explain God's laws and precepts to others. He also wants us to offer sacrifices of praise and good works, which are pleasing to him. What a privilege and what a responsibility! And so to finish today, what difference should it make in our lives that we are indeed a royal priesthood? How should this truth impact how we live? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind, and It Is Written. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. Remember, God is always faithful.